All right, I had a subscriber request for a couple of coins here that I wanted to go over real quick. Should only take a few minutes. So this is for Astra and for Multivac. Astra had actually made a post on October 9th that we were getting a rising wedge, and eventually that did break down. I'll show that real quick. That was basically this right here. And the way I found that breakdown that was coming was basically this. I won't go into great detail on it, but basically, you did have that, and you had a clean rejection of both the wedge that was coming up and a clean rejection of the 1221 right there. So there's a lot of areas it was a buy point. I mean, I'll give you a couple for this short. You could have bought somewhere here. You could have bought the rejection of this. This isn't an exact, I think it was probably more like this. So you could have bought the rejection of that right there, even though it was above the 1221. It's a little bit more risky. And then your stop loss, I would always, whether you're long or short, I would never set your stop loss less than 5%. And sometimes it'll get taken out. You may have to, put your trade back in there if you get stopped out. But yeah, that's a point. That's a point. If you missed any of these, you could have waited till it closed below this higher low, which would have really been this candle, but you could have waited till it came back up and hit this resistance at one of these wicks here, and you could have been in the short at that point. But there wasn't much meat on the bone left at that point. I suppose what's being asked here on these two coins is, are they ready to go back up? And I'll try to answer that. So if you go to a daily chart, currently it is at a minor area of support. Maybe this was not your automatic rally. I mean, my guess is it's going to go sideways for a bit. I mean, if you're using Wyckoff, which I don't really get into Wyckoff structure much, but if you consider that just in your mind, this range is probably going to play out for a while, especially since Astra just went up a bunch. If you look at your 3-hour chart, I mean, as far as if you're looking for a quick bounce out of it, I would say no, not right now anyway. Just simply, I mean, you've got red money flow here that's pretty thick. Really, anytime money flow is red, you should be looking for shorts. Anytime money flow is green, you should be looking for longs. And that's what these green dots that I talked about in this video prior to this one today. If you get these green dots that are real tight to the zero line here and your money flow is still green, look how that pumped up on the 3-hour chart. I mean, this is a really easy trade. You would have seen something like this. You would have seen momentum coming down, and you can use Fu Manchu B for this. It's the same thing, and it's free. Same thing as Market Cipher. And I get into that in more detail in the previous video, which I'll link at the end of this. But, you were coming down slowly, printed a green dot there. You were above your 1221, real safe trade. And you could have just went up. And I mean, if you wanted to sell at these red dots, that's fine. But, money flow is still green. Could have held on to it, could have bought in at either of these green dots. And the point that that it's starting to lose momentum usually is on like a 3-hour or higher time frame. You start seeing, money flows going up, momentum's coming down. And then money flow, when it crosses over to the red, then for sure it's done. And that's when you got the rejection here at 1221. It rolled over more. And that would have been roughly a profit of, spot profit of 40%, which is massive. But if you would have taken a leverage trade, it would have been a lot more than that, like 400%. So that was kind of the thought process at the time with Astra. It was a really good short. I made some money off of that one. And I think other people probably did too if they were watching my Twitter. Again, if you want to follow any of these trades, I usually post them daily. Sometimes if market's not doing much, I don't post any, but I try to post them if I see them. So it's at Bike for Sale on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And while I'm talking about that, hit the like, share this video with your friends if you want any of them to see that. I have been getting a lot of followers lately, so I think these posts are hitting home. Just want y'all to learn how to trade. Takes discipline, though. That's the most important part. All right, so this is Multivac. And this is a weekly look at it. It has come down quite a bit. I think this was 97, 98% drop from its high in November 2021. So this could be a good area of support. Clearly, I haven't drawn the lines on this, but clearly this right here was a point of resistance. So this could be the new support line. So I kind of like this one, honestly. The person that asked me to look at these, I think you're on the right track here. Whatever you saw was correct. And so what are we looking at? I mean, even on a weekly chart, we've got a 1221 cross up. So that's good. Our candles are above the 1221. Looks like we're going into green money flow. MACD is trying to get above the zero line. It's pretty much sitting right under it right now. Go down to a daily chart, mostly sideways, but it's had some pretty good pumps lately. I think the thing I like about this the most, which it has some work to do, but even on the daily chart, if you consider price structure, like just get rid of everything. Don't even think about your EMAs or anything. This is a good place to start. You've got higher lows here. It hasn't broke below any of these. You've kind of got a higher high going. I mean, there was a lower high right there, but as far as the macro, you've got a higher high here. So what you're really going to have to see, of course, is another move above this high. And currently you're getting some wicks up right in this area. So your current resistance is around 0013. And then your current support, I mean, if you're taking a really small time frame, your current support's somewhere around, I don't know, 00119 maybe. And we'll look at it in more detail as we get in lower time frames. But I don't want to make this too long. I mean, in general terms, you just want to see structure, right? This came down and it created a base that was this previous base. It came up and tried to break above. It had a failure. This is a higher low from this one, and then it created another higher high from this one. So it seems like it's trying to establish something off of this bottom, but it keeps running into resistance up here. I don't know, around 015, maybe. Yeah, about 015, I'd say. So your range overall, I'd say somewhere, maybe a little bit lower than that. It's hard to say. Somewhere in there. And maybe right there. Previously, it was further down, but this is your sideways action pretty much between this. So if you get a close below this, it's not good, especially if you get a close below 00092. That would mean that you have created a lower low off of this one. You want higher lows, higher highs. That's what you're looking for. Break above this area at about 0016 and it could take off. Targets going up. I mean, there's really a huge gap right here, but you might see some resistance here. But I mean, there's a lot of room for it to run if it does get past this. You'd be looking at 00625 up to 0115. But this could create problems for it going back up for a little bit, right about 003. So let's bring the indicators back here. That's the daily. Let's go down to like we'll see what the 12-hour shows first. Yeah, you're looking good. Money flow's green. You're above zero line MACD. 3 hours kind of choppy. And that's usual with the when you're going sideways, it's usually what's going to show. So there's really not much to write home about. I mean, you're just kind of, it's like a magnet right here on the zero line for MACD. Yeah, just not much to see here. Let's see what 1 hour shows. No, it's about the same. I would say you really need to move back up into the green money flow before you're going to see. I mean, this may come down. Yeah, zero line is usually your support. So this may come down, and that's what I would watch for on the daily, or maybe, let's see, it's sitting on it in the 6 hour. You could watch the 12-hour and see if the MACD is going to find some support here. If it does, that's a really good place to buy. I mean, like I've talked about before in the video today and just a few moments ago, these green dots that are real tight to the zero line here on Market Cipher, as long as your money flow is green, usually that's a place to buy. But you do have a lot of wicks to the upside here. So, I mean, you could even say something like this. You're just, it's kind of creating a triangle going sideways. When it breaks out of that triangle, that's when you'll know. So give it a couple of days, I'd say, and you might have a better idea of what it's going to do. I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, we went to the 3 hour in Astra. It's not looking good for a long, although it's trying to get back up, but it seems to be rejecting at the MACD line there. I think that either tells us that it's going to go sideways for much longer, or it's going to be a short play rather than a long play. Yeah, I mean, the longer time frame could be showing you a buy signal here. But if that's the case, then you don't want to see, probably don't want to see a candle close under this line right here, which is 002947. If you get a candle under that, then it's probably coming back down to here. But currently, I don't see, I mean, I don't like the MACD there. It's not looking good. Yeah, same there, even though you're above the MACD on the daily. I mean, you could be creating your higher low there from this one. I just figure that it's got longer to play out, and this range that it's in. Yeah, this is a good range to play, though. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you wanted to buy here and try to sell maybe 75% of this move, that might be a good trade. Don't forget that these trades can take a while to play out. I mean, this is over what, 15 days or so that it could take to do that. But sometimes these sideways trades are some of the best trades. But just remember, you got to be careful not to put yourself in a bad spot where you hold on to something that's going down further. Because even though it seems like it's come down, whatever it is, 100%, I think that's what I calculated earlier. It doesn't mean it can't go lower. I mean, they can definitely go lower. Risk to reward is pretty good right now, though. You can set a tight 5% stop loss there and be okay. See what that is. Yeah. I mean, set you a tight stop loss if you want a 5%. And, if it comes down and once it gets back up here into the area of acceptance, then you can take another trade. But again, risk to reward is okay right now, even though your 1221 is crossing down. It is saying it's bearish. Still bearish there on the 3 hour. Keeps pushing it down. I mean, you could even wait till your 1 hour crosses back up. It did it maybe here somewhere. Yeah, right there, it did it. But you could wait for one more cross up before you take your long if you want. Okay, hopefully that is helpful. If anybody has any other requests, just put them in the comments there and I'll get to them. Take care.